The premiere episode of The Bad Batch sparked some controversy when it first aired. In essence, it portrayed a sequence of events in the timeline differently from how a comic book portrayed it. This comic book, Kanan, The Last Padawan, had come out years beforehand, making the events in the TV show seem like a blatant contradiction, or even like that infamous word, a retcon. In the same vein as the Cobb Vanth video, we're going to try to rationalize these two versions of events. The difference here is that we're going to have to be willing to overlook some stuff, because this one is a little harder to explain. Let's start with looking at the comic, since that's what came out first, and it was how we first experienced this story. The comic shows us that Caleb Doom, who we all know as Kanan Jarrus, is Jedi Master Depa Billabba's Padawan. Caleb and her master Depa, joined by their red-armored clone battalion, led by Captain Styles and Commander Gray, fight to take the planet Kaller from Separatist forces led by General Cleave. The Republic forces are victorious, leading General Cleave to retreat from the planet. Caleb, Depa, Styles, and Gray then meet with the planet's leader, Gamut Key. He doesn't see much of a difference between a Separatist occupation and a Republic occupation. After the meeting, the two Jedi, along with the clone commanders, camp out at night under the stars. While sitting around the campfire, Caleb bonds with the clones, Gray and Styles, while Depa tries to impart some wisdom onto her Padawan. It is here that Depa Billabba gifts her holocron to Caleb, an important story element in the Star Wars Rebels TV show. Soon after, Commander Gray receives the Order 66 transmission, prompting all of the clones in the battalion to turn on Depa and Caleb. Caleb and Depa are forced to defend themselves. However, Caleb is hesitant to fight back against the clones. Soon, Depa tells Caleb to run. He escapes, but turns back just in time to see Commander Gray shoot and kill his Jedi Master. He runs into the forest and hides from a clone group called Rostu Squad. Throughout the night, Caleb evades clone troopers and eventually makes it to a nearby city, where he finds transport off the planet. Now, in the television show The Bad Batch, the story begins during the daytime. The narration at the start of this episode tells us that the Separatist counterattacks have launched across several star systems, one of which is on the planet Kaller, the same one seen in the comic book. Depa Billabba and Caleb Doom are leading the push onto the capital of the planet and are joined by Captain Gray, who is wearing green armor instead of red armor, and is of course a captain, not a commander. This depiction of the battle also involves Clone Force 99, generally referred to as the Bad Batch, coming to the rescue, providing reinforcement to Depa and her clone battalion. When asked where their actual reinforcements were, Hunter explained to Depa that they were rerouted to the capital. Shortly after this, Captain Gray receives the infamous Order 66 transmission, prompting him and the rest of the clones to attack, except for the Bad Batch. Depa dies and Caleb escapes into the forest, chased by Hunter and Crosshair. So, there are some pretty big differences here. The most notable one, Order 66 happens during the day in the episode rather than at night, like in the comic book. The clone battalion's armor has been changed from red to green. Commander Gray is now Captain Gray, and Captain Styles is entirely absent. Depa Billabba's lightsaber was changed from green to blue, and Caleb is seen being chased by Hunter and Crosshair of the Bad Batch, rather than being chased by Rostu Squad. The meeting with the governor, Gamut Key, is missing from the show, as Order 66 happened before it rather than after. Also, the Bad Batch wasn't in the comic book at all, but they were a big part of the events in the show. So what the heck is going on here? Why the inconsistency between the comic and the TV show? Whatever the answer is, I think we can still rationalize these events out for all of those continuity junkies out there. It's me. I'm the continuity junkie. This is for me. Anyway, so let's begin. First, the easiest one to explain. Depa Balaba's lightsaber, or should we say lightsabers, plural. Depa Balaba maybe has two lightsabers. One is blue and the other is green. Easy explanation. Okay, now let's look at the Clone Battalion's armor. It was red in the comics, but in the TV show it was green. I feel like this was an intentional production change. That episode heavily featured the Coruscant Guard, who also wear red armor, and the show's creators maybe didn't want to confuse the Clone Battalion on Kaller with the Coruscant Guard, or the Shock Troopers, so they changed it to green rather than red. The in-universe answer for why the clone armor color was changed may be far-fetched, but it may also be the most likely. The comic was told from the point of view of Kanan, acting as a sort of flashback. In the comic, Kanan was traveling to Kaller much later in his life, prompting him to remember his traumatic childhood as a Jedi Padawan. He remembered Order 66 back when he was a kid. Perhaps he misremembered, blending some of the details together. The Bad Batch wore red armor, and they played a significant role in those moments, so he may have applied that armor color to his memory of the Clone Battalion that he served with. As it said in the comics, he'd only been fighting in the Clone Wars for a few months. I know it's a cop-out kind of explanation, but it's the most feasible. Kanan became a bit of a drunk in his later years, so that may play a part with his memory lapse. There's also Rostu Squad, the clones tasked with hunting Caleb Dume down after he escaped the others. The comic showed us that Rostu Squad chased him into the woods, but in the TV show, it was Hunter and Crosshair from Clone Force 99. This may be a theory, but I think that Rostu Squad was actually in the episode. We just didn't see them physically searching for Caleb in the woods. When Hunter and Crosshair went after Caleb, they told Wrecker to stay back and slow down any other clones that followed them. At one point in the show, we see a squad approach Wrecker and tell him to step aside. That squad may have been Rostu Squad. So while the comic gave us one perspective, the TV show gave us another that focused on the Bad Batch rather than Rostu Squad. Another inconsistency is the rank of the clone commander, Gray. In the comic, he is a commander and has a second-in-command called Captain Styles. But in the show, he's the only one in charge, aside from Depa Balaba, of course. This may be something akin to the ranking of other clone troopers, such as Captain Rex, where their actual rank is captain, but they were oftentimes referred to as a commander, because they're in command. Gray even refers to Caleb as a commander too, but he has no actual rank, he's literally just a Padawan. And where was Captain Styles in the episode anyway? Gray was there, but not Styles. Well, another theory. Perhaps Styles was with those reinforcements that Hunter talked about. In the show, they said that Depa Balaba's actual reinforcements were rerouted to the capital of Kaller. Maybe Styles was leading them. That way he's still playing a part in the attack. Alright, now we get to the biggest change in between the comic and the TV show. The moment that Order 66 was issued. The comic happened at night while they were sitting around a campfire, and the TV show happened during the day while they were still fighting Separatists. For this one, we may have to rely on that cop-out explanation again, that Kanan was just misremembering how the events played out. The comic showed us that Order 66 happened very shortly after Caleb and the two clones, Gray and Styles, were laughing and joking with each other. It was an emotional juxtaposition. First, they were brothers in arms. Then seconds later, they were trying to kill each other. Considering how much Kanan hated clones in the Rebels TV show, which took place many years later, I think this is how Kanan remembers this moment. For him, Order 66 is a huge betrayal. People that he considered his friends, people that were joking with him and fighting beside him, tried to murder him seconds later, as if none of that ever mattered. That is what is important to Kanan. What really happened is that they camped together at night and had a good time around the campfire. But then the next day is when Order 66 really went down. After the Republic pushed the Separatists off of Kaller, the Separatists launched their counterattacks the next day in several star systems, as depicted in the opening narration of the Bad Batch TV show. During that attack is when Palpatine issued Order 66. Alright, so that's a lot to go over, so let's put that into a chronological timeline. First, Jedi Master Deba Balaba and her Padawan, Caleb Doom, lead clone commanders Gray and Styles, who are both captains, in an attack on the Separatist-controlled planet of Kaller. Deba Balaba uses her green lightsaber during this attack. The Republic wins, and General Cleve retreats from the planet. Deba, Caleb, Gray, and Styles meet with the planet's leadership, Gamut Key. Then they leave to camp out next to the forest, where they all talk, bond, and joke around. Deba Balaba gives Caleb her holocron to study and learn from. Then, the next day, the Separatist counterattack causes them all to defend the planet. Captain Styles leads another company of clones, while Gray, Deba, and Caleb defend their position. The Bad Batch shows up on their mission, and they help them out. Here, Deba is using her blue lightsaber now. After they win the fight, they decide on launching their own counterattack on the Separatists, but before they can, Order 66 is issued, and the clones turn on the Jedi, except for the Bad Batch. Deba Balaba is killed, and Caleb escapes into the forest, telling the Bad Batch to stay away from him. Hunter and Crosshair follow him, as does Rostu Squad on orders from Captain Gray. Hunter fails in convincing Caleb to come with them, watching him run off further into the woods. Rostu Squad continues to hunt him down for the rest of the night until Caleb makes his way to, presumably, the capital of Kaller, where he gets passage off the planet. Okay, so hopefully that clears things up. None of this was actually verified or anything, but again, for trying to make everything fit into a canonical timeline, a nice continuity, I think it's a pretty good explanation. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it.